Welcome back everybody, my name is Philip and today we will talk about the aperture and the aperture priority mode on your camera. Note that this video is the second one in a 3-video sequence, and these 3 videos belong to a very elaborate and detailed article that I have composed talking about the big 3s when it comes to your camera, which is aperture, shutter speed and ISO. Now if you want to read more or have more detailed and want to see all these elaborate examples, of super elaborate examples of course, then don't hesitate to head over to the article and have a good solid read, because once you're done you will know everything you will know everything necessary to get going with your camera, to really explore these settings and make use of the full potential your camera has to offer. So the link is down in the description, just head over, read everything you need, or of course stick with the video for now, which gives you a quick rundown. As I mentioned, today we will talk about the aperture, and we will talk about what is the aperture, can you give me an example why would I care about the aperture, and then where can you find it on your camera, and then it's up to you to just give it a try. So, I'm excited, as usual, let's jump right in and then get going. I don't know why I have that already. So, let's jump right in. Now the first thing that we need to talk about is what is aperture and why would you care about it? Now, aperture in simple terms is a function that your lens has to offer actually, not necessarily the camera itself. Imagine this, your camera has that sensor, right? So somewhere deep within the camera there's this expensive piece of technology that collects light and creates the image ultimately. Now, there are several ways for the camera of controlling how much light can reach the sensor. And one of these ways is what is called the aperture. And the aperture is nothing else than an opening in your lens where the lens has the power to make that opening large or small. If it makes it large, a lot of lens can come through the lens and can then be funneled down to the sensor. Or if it makes it very small, then the hole will be small, less light can enter the camera lens essentially, and that means less light will also reach the sensor. So the aperture is nothing else than a way of controlling the amount of light that enters the lens by making use of a hole inside the lens that can be made large or can be made small. And the right question to ask here is, why would you give a damn? So why is that actually important and what can it do for you, especially when it comes to your own photography? The cool thing is that the aperture is responsible for all these awesome images that you see on the good old interwebs where the background is totally blurred out and you have an awesome bokeh. For example, this one right here. If you have a look at this, you can see that the subject is clearly in focus, whereas the rest of the image is totally blurred out. And these kind of images can be taken by making use of your aperture setting of your lens when you take the pictures, as simple as that. So getting this nailed can really open up a wide area of creativity, if you want it at least, when it comes to taking your own pictures. So definitely worth getting that nailed down. So on your camera, where is the aperture and how is it being measured? So how do you know how wide or how open or how close the hole in the lens is? For that, on your camera, you're looking for something that looks similar to this. And here's the thing, the number that specifies how open or how close that hole in the lens is, or how large or small the aperture is, that is being expressed by so-called f numbers or f stops. Sounds super complicated and it's going to get tiny bit more confusing before it gets better again, but just bear with me and we're going to get it nailed in just a moment. Here's the deal. These f numbers, they can be very small, something like 1.4, or they can be very large, something like 22. And that is generally the range what most lenses, let's say, different lenses can possibly do. Whereas there are a couple of lenses that I've heard that can even go to the lowest number of 0.95 or something crazy like that, but we're just going to ignore that for the moment. Okay. The deal is that the smaller the f number, which is expressed by f dash and then the number, something like 1.8, the smaller that number, the larger is the hole in the lens. So the more light can get in. If the number is very large, something like f-16, for example, then the hole would be very small and only a limited amount of light would be able to enter the camera. This is super confusing, and that's just because simply the f numbers or these f stops are made by making use of a ratio, which is not really important for us to understand, especially not if you're starting out. So just keep in mind that there is a bit of a brain fuck in there. Bad wording, my apologies. But keep in mind that this might be a little bit confusing at times, that a small f number means the opening in the lens is very wide, so you have a very large aperture with a small f number, whereas if you have a high f number of 22, for example, you have a very small aperture, so the hole is smaller. In order to get these really cool bokeh shots, you will need an aperture that is relatively large. So you will need a small f number, remember, because it's kind of the opposite. So a small f number of something like 1.4 or 1.8 will enable you to take pictures where you have an object in focus or a person or whatever, and then the background is totally blurred out. Whereas if you want to have everything sharp and in focus that is in your image, you're going to have to go for a very small aperture or for a smaller aperture with a very large f number of 16 or something like that. So how can you give it a try? Simply by switching your camera into the aperture priority mode. Most cameras just write down a little A or something like that. So if you do see a little A on the camera dial on the top of your camera, and the dial, for example, could look like this, it's just simply on the top of your camera, then find the A, use the A, and in the aperture priority mode, you will be able to adjust only the aperture, but not the shutter speed. The camera will take care of the shutter speed for you, and you can freely set the aperture that you want to use. Very low, very small, very large, completely up to you and perfect for playing around with it. So what else is there? Well, the last part obviously belongs to you, which is take the camera, pop it into aperture priority mode and get out there and just simply try it out. Try out to use one where the f number is very small, so that means you have a very wide opening in the lens, and try to get these nice bokeh shots. Now I have more information with regards to different types of lenses, things that might be important when you choose a lens, what is depth of field, or there's a bit more information on the article as well. So I would definitely suggest to click on the link in the description, head over and just have a good read through that as well. And after this, you're all set and you can definitely go and do your magic with your own camera. I hope you did like this summarizing video. If you did like it, do not forget to thumbs up the words. Do not forget to hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you're new, do not forget to subscribe, as it's going to help out me, as it's going to help me out a lot. Other than that, happy shooting, happy trying the aperture mode, and I shall see you the next time.